So let's take a moment to settle into quiet, soft posture. Getting yourself settled and adjusted, resting in your chair. With each exhalation, you can release through your mouth if that's comfortable, and allow your whole body to soften, softening that space between your eyebrows, around and behind the eyes. Relaxing your jaw, your tongue, your throat, and your neck. Release the tops of your shoulders and allow the elbows to hang as though they continue to help release the tops of the shoulders. Your forearms, your wrists, your hands. With each exhalation, a little bit softer. Releasing your chest, your upper back, allowing the shoulder blades to soften down the back. The ribs release, the belly, your lower back. Letting go of your hips and your glutes. If you're sitting, remember to allow your legs to release side to side so that they're free. Your lower legs feel free, your feet are soft. And with each exhalation, they become even softer. Notice if your mind is particularly agitated or more restful. Notice if your breath is feeling free or if it's obstructed. When you feel ready, bringing fresh warmth, liveliness into your hands, continuing to soften your hands. Oh, still have soot on my arm.
Huh?
Still have soot on my arm.
So?
Soot.
Soot?
Didn't even notice.
Oh. Sorry, I was rubbing my ears.
My hands smell like fireplace.
Good or bad?
That's a nice smell, yeah. That smell of fir and pine.
Oh, that's very nice.
And by the way, for those people who are new to this class, who are just joining us, who are not quite sure what's going on, please do click down below the video and look for a link to an introductory lesson for this particular Qigong massage class. It will answer a lot of your questions and help you understand what's going on in these live sessions. And of course, you're always welcome to join us. And if you have any questions at any time, feel free to put them into the chat box. Otherwise, we can't see that you're here, so I can't adjust the class for you. Barely see you. remembering to settle longer if you are feeling unsettled. If it's more difficult for you to settle, then that means that is a particularly good practice for you. And the same is true for everything else. If you have difficulty warming your ears, spend more time warming your ears. For instance, if your eyes tend to be really sore and tired, spend more time nourishing and softening around them. Do extra repetitions. And again, if you look at that list that I have down below of all of the different movements and repetitions that can be suggested for the set, you'll see that a lot of them are up to 100 repetitions. And that's because you can spend plenty of time in this set if you want, a couple of hours, if you have the time. And especially emphasizing opening and softening those spaces that are difficult for you to open and soften. That's how we heal. Put the medicine where you need it the most.
Well said. Did you just switch arms?
I did, by accident.
Trying to gaslight me again. I think that's what it is.
You are unstoppable.
You work on your left arm 20% of the time. Del said, I saw it too, Memo, all caps. Thank you, Del. It's nice to know I have a backup.
I should do the literal gaslighting thing where I slowly turn down the lights in here. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, no.
Do you know where it comes from, the movie that comes from? I think it was a movie.
I have like a vague recollection, but I don't remember. If you want to share.
It's just a terrible story of a man trying to make his wife think that she's crazy so he can control her. And so one of the things that he does is he slowly turns down the lighting in the room, which was, slowly turning down the gas, but pretending that it was just as bright and that it was just her mind. And so that's where the term comes from. Pretending like you're not, lying to somebody or fooling them and acting like their reaction is their problem.
Right, yeah.
Which we see a lot in our society.
Mm-hmm.
And massage my soot mark away. I was building up the fireplace just before coming up here. Yeah, all the snow is melting, falling off the trees. I keep hearing it thumping out there as it falls off.
Yeah, we'll probably find more branches in the yard.
Mm-hmm. It was a surprising amount. I guess there was a place in California that traffic was just stopped in the middle of the highway and snow piled up around them. It was just it dumped on them overnight in a way that nobody expected. Strange times.
Okay.
Remember that you're allowing the weight of your hand to sink below the tissues. It's worth experimenting. You can push not hard enough so that your hands just skirt over the surface of the skin, or you can push too hard so that they soak into the level of the muscles or they sink down, compressing into the bone, stopping all flow. And then there's a level just in between those, beneath the skin, on top of the musculature, sometimes on top of the bone. There's this in-between space that we're allowing our awareness to soak into, the movement to reach into. Get better and better at not only keeping your awareness in the present moment with what you're doing, but also allowing that awareness to reach into this particular space, to feel the inside of your body, even if it's just a millimeter or two beneath the surface of the skin. Continuously coming back and coming back. As I mentioned yesterday, it's one whole level of practice attainment to be able to go through the whole set, the whole time keeping your awareness resting in your body. Even if your mind wanders away for a moment, you bring it back and you bring it back. Staying comfortable in your body. If you notice that you're holding your breath, don't force your breath to change. Instead, we make space for the breath. Get better and better at allowing these practices and processes to happen by getting out of the way, not by trying to do something strong. Being gentle and warm, opening your body. Letting everything settle and stay settled, even as you move. If you find your mind wandering away, then simply pause, settle again, come back as best you can, and then continue. It's perfectly okay. It's even a wonderful practice. And the better that you get at coming back and coming back, as long as you are practicing through this process of letting go of it, then you will become much more stable in your practice. Your mind will slowly learn that you're not interested in distractions, and it will learn to pay more and more attention to what you're doing. Your mind will invest its energy into the practice instead of into distraction. A reminder for you Qigong and Tai Chi people, as usual. As you lift your elbow and the hand goes up, allow your shoulder to sink down. Your chest stays soft. You don't lean back. Don't grip with your jaw or your neck or your shoulder. All of this is just a release. It's a falling down and then a falling down again. At least that's what we're working on building. The softer you are, the easier it gets. It's only tension and obstruction that's keeping this joint frozen. It's not like it's some magical skill. So you just constantly learn how to release all of this until it can move freely. And then your movements get suddenly much, much easier and more connected. Always paying attention to the quality of your mind as you practice, the stability of your mind as you practice. This is all part of the ability to soften your body and enhance your qi flow. All of these qualities that we're often looking to cultivate during any kind of Qigong practice, including this one, centers through the quality and the softness of your mind. So we're constantly working on relaxing the mind and relaxing the mind. And until we can relax the mind somewhat and keep it from trying to do things really strong all the time, it becomes really difficult or impossible to do other practices in Qigong. And so really do take the time to pay attention to that process, because only you can help yourself with that process. Thanks, Del. It was nice to have you here. I'll read your messages later. Always letting go and letting go, more and more. For those of you who took the class with me on how to soften the throat and the tongue, you can allow your tongue to fall upward as long as your jaw and your throat are soft enough. And remember, if it stays there on its own, it's fine. If it falls, just leave it, it's fine. At some point, all of this will change shape and you'll have that new connection through. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then you should watch the whole series. It's only 150 hours. People put that much time into terrible dramas on TV. It's worth it. How much time do people spend in Game of Thrones traumatizing themselves? They could spend a little time here de-traumatizing themselves. This point between the solar plexus and the navel, Zhongwan, this Ren 12 point, we think about it often as the yellow palace, this golden palace. This is a center for digestion in the body. If you want to allow this warmth and liveliness from your hands to reach into this point, and we're only sinking as deep as that space between the skin and the musculature, but the point itself reaches far more deeply and widely through the body. So stimulating this point is very nourishing for the digestion by itself. And you want to continue to soften your breath. Continue to release your waist. Don't hold your belly. Don't force your waist to tighten in order to sit up straight. Soften, let go. Get out of the way. Releasing the ribs, the waist, the belly, especially if you've found yourself frustrated lately.
Looking right at me, I see.
Continuing to soften. That sense of quiet friendliness that's there when you let go. You don't have to try to make it happen. Just allowing yourself to be open, interested, non-judgmental. both directions, allowing your awareness to soak into that space. Both the main space that we're working on, this fascial layer, in this case between the skin and the musculature, this membrane level that extends out, the empty spaces between. But for this one, also allowing some of your awareness to soak into the rest of your belly, as though your hands are following the movement of your awareness, and the awareness is following the movement of your hands. Just being gentle and present. And then allowing your awareness to soak into that space between the navel and the spine. Don't be in a hurry to move past. Wait until the right moment, till you have that sense of settling and a sense of depth. Maybe you feel your whole body become 1% softer, or suddenly your breath is easier, or you notice that, oh, my mind has been quiet for the past 20 seconds. Those are all signs that maybe your chi is sinking, and you wait for something like that to happen, even a small shift, and then you move forward, so that throughout the set you are more and more settled, rather than the other way around. Softening along this inguinal groove. Again, we center our awareness on this stomach 30 point, just in the middle, that soft spot that you may experience there. But if you have other tight places, like perhaps the front of the hip, or further inside, if you have a groin strain, you're not trying to put a lot of pressure here. You're simply allowing the warmth and attention from your fingers and your mind to reach into that space, perhaps to help ease it open. So if you have something going on up here, maybe spend some time, find a way to sit or stand such that it's open and you can spend time warming and releasing it. You're not trying to massage, not for this set, but you can take the time to ease it open in whatever way that works best for you. Always pause to look for what works best for your body each time, and then slowly we'll improve together. So I'm going to spend more time again on the back, but please do take the time to shake your arms out if they start to get tired, to move more slowly or move more softly, or simply to move on if it doesn't feel good. Remember to give your shoulders and arms a break if they start to feel tight or exhausted. That is not the point of this practice. So take as long as you need to move through these, especially if you're watching this later and you can simply pause the recording. Eventually, for a lot of these, again, check that list down below. And I can also see that there are a bunch of new people joining us. So please do check down below for the introductory video to this set if you're not quite sure what's going on. Because eventually we will work up to higher numbers for each of these movements. We tend to do fewer because of the time constraint, or because I know how tiring this can be in the beginning when your arms are still tight and you're trying to make these movements happen. But as we've softened over the course of the 100 days, we want to gently increase the number of repetitions for each of them as best we can within time constraints. For a number of them, moving up, as I said, to 100 circles, 100 repetitions. Usually especially useful on the back and the knees, where so many people carry tension and pain. But you can increase the number anywhere in the body that feels like it's useful and helpful for you. As long as at the end of that set, you pull all of the chi down and you make sure that you settle at the end. One thing you also may notice is that as your body opens, it will change, and new areas suddenly require more attention than they did before. That's not a sign of you getting worse. It's usually a sign of you getting better. And now your attentions are being called to an area that perhaps has been closed for decades. And suddenly you have to work with a new area in order to allow that opening to continue. And the increased circulation and chi flow in that area makes the sensation more intense. And so it can seem as though you are backsliding, that you're getting worse. But oftentimes, as long as you've been practicing correctly, it's the other way around. It's your body initiating healing in places that you're not used to. And it can feel uncomfortable or awkward. And that's just part of the process.
Yeah, that's a really helpful reminder. I know sometimes that as certain areas open up, as tension releases, collapsing can occur in other places.
That's right. Yeah, the places that used to be tight and architecturally would support the body, which is a thing we don't want, suddenly that releases. But we don't know how to release through all the way to the ground yet. So now the next place below it suddenly is forced to bear all of that weight and pressure of this new structural change, and it doesn't know how, so it gets sore and tight. And you're like, why did I do that? But in a way, it's a good sign that the progress is going through and down, but it certainly can be uncomfortable. So one of those things that's hard to advertise to students about. The good news is you'll feel worse. But it's just a way of talking about the good news is that you are healing, and that healing sometimes is messy and uncomfortable. And it's also a process as it transfers from one section to another as pressure and gravity and movement finds its way out of the body. I used to have a lot of spinal problems, which of course is why I started Snake and Turtle. And my whole spine was very crooked in a number of different ways, although you can't really tell now from the outside. You can still feel how my spine grew crooked if you run your fingers down my spine, but now my back is straight, and I can move it in a very flexible way because of Qigong. But as my spine initially was straightening from snake and turtle and standing posture practice and acupuncture, the process was very uncomfortable because all of the tissues in my body were forced to move and change position. And your organs are adjusting and moving around, and suddenly there's pressure in places that you didn't feel before, which certainly wouldn't be anything new to somebody who is experiencing pregnancy, for instance, because that's the same kind of thing going on in their body. There's nothing wrong. It's just everything's moving around and is a new place and strange new pressures and things are happening inside that you're not used to. And so those people who have experienced that aspect of parenthood, they can roll their eyes and think we're all whiners, and we are. And so recognizing that it's simply part of this process can be sometimes a load off of your mind if you're worried that things are just getting worse for no reason. As long as you understand why things are happening and changing, and you can trace it back to your progress in your healing process, then you're doing okay. Sometimes you just need to go slower, maybe do less practice if you're changing quickly. That happens a lot on the psychological level, that often as you're releasing these old emotions, you're changing who you are as a person, your body is releasing memories and feelings. Sometimes if you're not quite prepared for it, it can feel like a lot. And so the trick is simply to slow down, to do a little bit less. I had to do that at one point in my practice. I spent time very specifically distracting myself from my practice because I was going too fast and it was causing me extreme problems. I have a whole video about it.
Which is called?
I don't remember. What is it called? There's two. Well, there's the Free and Easy Wandering, but I talk about it. And there's the one called Is Meditation Dangerous, I think?
The Dangers of Meditation.
Yeah, something like that. And it is a very common thing that happens to people. But it usually happens if you're over exuberant, you're pushing too hard. That's why we emphasize so much this quality of just letting things go. I hadn't learned that skill yet at the time. All I knew was how to push and force things. And because of that, it became dangerous. But as long as you're emphasizing this quality of just letting things move at their own pace, you're being gentle and present, then things should be okay. Which, of course, may still be uncomfortable, but at least you know why. Letting things heal at their own pace is always a good idea. And again, just because it's worth saying, if during your practice a problem that you're not sure about arises and that may seem scary or uncomfortable, it's always worth contacting an expert in whatever field you need help with. If you're practicing and suddenly a new spot hurts and goes numb, as long as you can afford it and it's available to you, because it's not available to everybody, please do go visit some expert, a doctor, and have it checked out. Most likely they'll look at it and go, you're fine. Something's happening. Similarly, if something breaks loose and a memory or a strong emotion arises and mentally, emotionally you're having difficulty, it's really not much different. If it doesn't pass and you simply can't relax, have a good night's sleep through it, please do take the time to reach out to somebody who talks about these things and explores them professionally all day long. It doesn't hurt to ask and to see what's going on and maybe get help that you need. There's no virtue in doing it on your own. That's all a big lie. None of us do it on our own. We all get help. Gently warming. You take your time. Do you notice your feet getting softer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used to be so tense that I would get tickled even if I touched my own feet. Like I could never have pedicures or anything like that. But they're starting to feel a lot flatter. Less of this one.
That's really great. Bit by bit. Are you feeling cold? Okay. I have to restart that fire down there. Probably went out.
Yeah.
You might notice that your Achilles feels less intensely tight. That space inside your calf, after so many days of practice now, is less sensitive, more open. I've been hearing lots of really nice reports from everybody about how the practice has been helping, which I really appreciate hearing. Just this consistent, gentle effort, this reconnection with our body, this quieting of the mind, softening of the heart. Such a wonderful way to practice. A reminder to sit comfortably. It can be helpful to have your hips supported on a stool or some folded blankets, something firm enough so you don't sink too far into them. Folding at the hip, continuing to lengthen through your spine. Shoulder blades stay rested in the back so that they're not rolling forward. Avoid gripping with your thighs as you come down, continuing to lengthen from beneath your legs so that this movement with your hands is helping lengthening the tissues that way. And you stay lengthened. If you find yourself straining, holding your breath, pressuring yourself in any way, you're going too far. You're not trying to stretch. This is about softening, not stretching. Circling all the way up to the hips. Remember to keep your legs nice and soft so that just like when you're sitting in a chair, you're not gripping them side to side, you're not forcing anything. You're simply allowing movement to reach all the way through your legs out to the feet, through the feet. Make sure both directions feel equally open. They are a little bit different. Folding. Hips are soft, continuing to lengthen the upper body through the crown of the head. The feet move and circle, pulling the bottom of the feet, waking them up a bit, but not initiating tension there. You're just waking them up. Trying to keep the momentum out of it too much. You're simply turning from side to side. Don't strain your back. Don't do anything funny. Just softening open your spine a little bit. turning side to side from the navel, slowly letting go. Always be gentle. If you'd like to lay flat, of course, you're welcome to. Make sure that you are supported in all of the ways that you need in order to feel comfortable. And at some point, if you like, you can move your hands and your feet a bit, make sure that your body is nice and open, and then rolling onto your side, sitting up. Settling your awareness, especially into that space behind your navel, that middle danxian. Your awareness soaking into your body. And then notice how easy it is to spread your mind out now through the rest of your body, staying grounded in the middle. All of this practice, letting your mind connect with your body throughout, from your fingers to your toes, makes it that much easier to connect now, to be grounded. And then maintain that settled awareness and expand your awareness into the space around you. Remaining settled and aware. It's a really good space to be. Thank you for joining. If there's any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box. I can hang out for a few minutes and see if anybody has anything to ask. It can take a few minutes for it to come through. So if you're going to type a question, maybe let us know first, and then we'll know to wait. Thanks, Steph. So glad you make it. What an amazing message to pass on to a growing baby.
Mm-hmm.
This loving, consistent, gentle feedback. Since they're sharing your nervous system, what a lesson to learn about the world. What a gift. Right at the time when those deep lessons set the tone for everything.
Yeah.
Looks like no questions. Thank you, everybody. We very much appreciate you. Remember to go out and spread some of that love to your community. Do one nice thing before bed. Unless you're already in bed, then do one nice thing tomorrow. Spread this feeling around a little bit. And enjoy your practice.